Okay, good morning. I'd like to thank you all for coming. We are videotaping this for a reason. To find out how my pink shirt looks on video to test out a new product. No, that's not really it. What we're doing is that in part of escalating the SPC activity, we want to have a feedback mechanism. And that feedback mechanism is what we'll go through today to share with you and what it's going to be in these meetings. But we also want to convey that down to the operators, and we're having duplicate copies of this tape made so that they can understand exactly what is happening in the unit as it involves SPC. So this is for fun. Anything happens, I'm not, there's no makeup on, so we're not going to professional. We're just doing it to communicate with the people. The meeting is going to kind of be defined, it will be defined in this order that myself and Leanne will go over the purpose of why we're having the meeting. How we're going to conduct the meeting is what I'll go through. I will then come back and tell us about what the unit has done in terms of SPC through the 11th period of this year. Each section supervisor will then come and share what's happened in their sections as an overall viewpoint. And then we have some success stories that involve SPC-related activities. SPC, as I've shared before, I rather call it total quality control because it's more than just control charts as we get into this. And at the end, if we have some time, I'd like to go into, open it up for concerns that any of you have. In our original meeting, and what you had heard on the, through the FTS News, this was the intention of what we were going to be doing through the fourth quarter. We were going to strengthen our current strategy, which I shared with you, is getting teams involved and getting it down to the people, to transfer that ownership, that have team of operators or the core group that would create energy within your groups that I would be working with on a weekly basis, to take the trend charts and get those converted to control charts where it was applicable, and to get more operator involvement in training and fail-safing methods and flow charting and all of those tools. We also said through the fourth quarter we were going to have a data collection system in place where we were not dependent upon one individual in each group or the section supervisor knowing what's happened. We were going to build a system that would automatically take care of that. That I wouldn't have to be actively involved or supervisors. It would just be a natural type of process. And that we were going to have goals for each group, not just goals for the department, but goals for motion picture lab and flashing and prep, or motion picture lab processing or film measurements. We were going to spread this out where everybody knew what was going to be expected, and we would perform an audit to say, how well are we doing? I'd like to just go back and share the intent for doing all of this, because I think it's very important. We can't lose sight of where we're going, what the goal is. To change the operator responsibilities and give the operator ownership. It's like he takes care of his car, he can hopefully take care of his piece of equipment that he has here. To create honest reporting of two-way data. From management to the operator, to group leader to operator, to group leader to management. Whatever this connection is, we want it to be honest and open. Driving towards non-photographic data, to do some training that would be meaningful training, to do team building, make sure we had support, and the most of all, probably more important, is a way to provide the time. We're going to do this through an organizational structure, which these would be each of the sections with the group leaders, and this showing the relationship as it involves to the core team, how they were going to interact. They had a real tough road, I believe, ahead of them, and I've shared that with you, and they need your encouragement in order to get through the process. What would be the benefits from doing that? We would have coordination. We would have operators with the skills that were necessary. Energy, most important thing to keep it moving. We would have a way of monitoring what our gains would be and being able to say, yeah, we're going to hold those now that we got them, not just go and get them and then lose them. And we would have habits that were good habits, they were SPC habits, and working into the mode of the continuous improvement. All nice, well said, right? What are the needs? Well, these are the needs that we're working on. That's part of the process of this meeting that we're going through today. We want management support of this. You want to know if you're going out and allowing these people to do things and you're doing things, is upper management going to support you or they're going to beat on you for something else? That's the open communication we're building. Time and energy fits right in what I said. Hands-on training for people. No, we could sit you in a classroom and teach you everything, but if you're not out there experiencing it, it doesn't really mean anything. The involvement, and probably most of all that's going to come from this group, is coaching, the encouragement, the rah-rah to keep it moving. Those are the elements that we planned on doing, and this is just one vehicle for doing what we plan on doing. Now, Leon would like to share a little bit of what his impressions are. Put it on you.
Yeah, that'll be just fine. Many of you participated in an exercise we had a couple of periods ago that we billed as the unit philosophies. And we got together in the conference room across the hall, and we went through a list of things that were objectives that we wanted to accomplish in this unit. Those resulted from a discussion that I had with the person that I report to, Bodan Duran. And I went to Bodan and I posed a hypothetical question to him. I said, Bodan, let's pretend a year had gone by and we were sitting down and talking about the progress that had been made in the unit. What kinds of things would have had to have taken place for you to feel that the year was a success? Number one on Bodan's list, you may recall, was that we should have demonstrated control systems in place for those pieces of equipment and those systems that we run within the unit. That was number one on his list. And I wanted to start off with that reminder so you can put in perspective why we've asked you to come here this morning and why we want to talk about SPC. In a business, we go through and identify those things that are important to the survival of the business. And management makes those decisions. We may not all agree with them all the time, but that's what's felt to be viable in order to make the business prosper and grow. When we asked that question to Bodan, number one on his list was control systems in place, SPC, if you will. Ron Preston and a number of people on the core group that you folks have identified have been putting an awful lot of energy into making this a reality. It started off as a seed, and now it's kind of growing, and it's getting bigger, and it's getting bigger. And we need everybody in the unit to take an active part in this, and that's why we're spending the time this morning to go through the overall program and to do some other things. In that meeting, we talked about it's all well and good to have good intentions. It's all well and good to have nice things to say and to have good talk around these issues. But the way all of us are being evaluated is in terms of what we actually accomplish, the results. And that's where we are this morning. We want to talk about results. And as I look across the unit, there's a lot of excellent things that are being done. And we're going to share some of those excellent things with you this morning. Now, there's just one other thing that I wanted to say to put this in perspective. Many of you were surprised when you walked in here this morning and you seen the bright lights and the cameras and all of that. And it's given a stuffiness and a formality to this that we don't want. So ignore all of that, and what we want to happen is something that probably most of you have not participated in before. I don't know how closely you read the meeting notice that Ron sent out, but he called this an R&R meeting. And the definition of an R&R meeting is that we're going to do some reinforcing, some positive reinforcing. Another way of saying that is when I described this to the supervisors, I said, this is going to be an old-fashioned backslapping kind of meeting. We're going to have people applauding. We're going to have people commenting and saying, well done. That's what this meeting is all about. We want people to take a lot of pride in the excellent things that have been done. This is not a meeting for the walking dead. This is not a meeting to sit and keep your lips tightly closed and sit there and hold your hands. We want to see people applauding. We want to see people saying, well done. We want to see people giving encouragement and reinforcing the really excellent things that have been done. I'm telling you they're excellent, but you wait till you see the 3 presentations. And my point is not to feel restrained, not to feel because we're sitting here with a shirt and tie on that we need to be laid back. That's not the intent of this meeting. The intent of this meeting is to show people that we're really doing some excellent things and we appreciate it. What I'd like to see happen is when each one of you walk out of here, you walk out of here thinking to yourself, damn, we're good. That's what this meeting is all about. And I think once you see some of these presentations, you won't need any encouragement to say it. You'll see what it's all about. Okay, Ron, let's move on with it.
Good, thank you. One point, I think, just to follow up on what Leon said, is that I think we've got to remember this, is that should have tested this out. We, that means all of us in this room, that means everybody that's out there as an operator. We do make a difference. We can make a difference. It's not that, you know, Leon's going to carry this and make this whole thing go. No, it's a we situation. And whatever data that I'm going to present, it's a we situation that took place. Okay? I had the chart made up. We did that sort of thing. That's fine. That's only one element of it. That's the feedback mechanism. But the we, the people within FTS, have made that happen. The meeting, the R&R meeting that Leon's talking about, we're planning on doing this every Tuesday. Okay, who's going to be there? He said, well, I can't have time to do that. No, the supervisors are taking the time, Leon's taking the time, I'm taking the time, and we will involve whatever group leaders, core personnel, or operators as necessary for that given week's agenda and what we plan to do, to discuss for R&R. And as you go through and see the way the meeting progresses, you'll understand just how that's going to happen each week. What are we going to discuss and who's going to discuss it? Just like this morning, I'm going to discuss what the unit's progress has been made, what FTS has done in regards to FTS and SPC, and in the way that upper management says we will report the data. Supervisors we've got goals that have been established for each of the supervisors. We established them back in January of this year. And I think when we established those goals, we didn't know what we were getting into or where we were really going, but it was a focal point, something for us to draw close to. The other part of it will be success stories that will involve the operators that have made the success story happen. You have made it happen by providing them the opportunity, the time to do that, and agreed and says, yeah, that is something really to go forward for. That operator cannot be successful unless he's given the opportunity to be successful. That's what everybody in this room is about, is giving people the opportunity to be successful. The group leaders, the section supervisor has to give you the opportunity to be successful. Supervisors, the unit director has to. It's a chain reaction that takes place that we have to deal with. Some of these times, if the success story is something, we're going to go out into the labs. We're going to look at it. We're going to see what happens. See the actual equipment. Meet other people. Deal with it then. I think then the most other important, probably one of the bigger things is that here's your opportunity, the operator's opportunity, to interact with management and say what direction are we going. The long-term plans is that we may have surprise visitors, such as Bodan and Larry, to stop in. Our emphasis is going to be, instead of going on our period basis where Ron reports and Leon reports what's happened, say, hey, stop into these meetings and let the people tell you what's happening, not what we perceive as happening. Let's get with the truth. That way the people, the operators, you can find out exactly what management's philosophy is if you ask them the question. That's the process we're planning. It's R&R. It's results and reinforcement. That's what it's called. Unit progress. This chart is the number of pieces of equipment that we have within the unit, and it shows where we came from in year-end 1986, where we plan on going out here, year-end 1987. The blue identifies trend charts. The red are control charts, and the green would indicate that that is in SPC. And we've defined a lot of the characteristics around that. We have made a lot of progress. We went through a real plateau, a real lull time here where we started to regroup. As soon as we've started to regroup, we've started to have progress going towards that goal, which shows an excellent opportunity for us there.
Is it clear to everybody that periods 5 through 9, not a whole lot of activity, numbers didn't change a lot. And then in periods 10 and 11, a lot of things got going. We're making some good progress, and we want to continue that momentum. Is there anybody that doesn't see that that's really some substantial progress? Well, okay, let's get the hands together then. Come on. All right.
That's excellent. We do now, through this whole process, we do have an audit that took place. I sent Kathy around. You send a young lady around to do your dirty work, basically, and said, okay, we need some sheets filled out so we know what we've got. What we have here is each one of those pieces of equipment and the parameters that are required to do that and a mechanism to maintain those so we know what we got. This is not going to be something that the first Monday of every period we're going to come into and say, well, I got to find out how many numbers I have. This should be something that's a natural, continual process with your procedures. It should be part of the procedures for that piece of equipment. And as they change, all we're asking, if you change, fill one out, send a copy to her, and then she can just upgrade the charts so that we can at any point in time know where we're at appropriately. This shows just the volume that we have within the unit. This whole book is filled with these charts for each of the sections. And that's, I think we have a unique situation because we have a lot of equipment, a lot of different kinds. The other element that we have to report are the number of parameters. This here has been exceptionally well done. Our estimate was 208 for year end, and we're way above our goal, and we'll even go higher than that as this thing explodes.
Good.
Again, I'm excited by the fact that we're starting to minimize the number of trend charts, which says, okay, we are starting to look at equipment and we've got control charts on it, which is important. If we don't start building the red in this case, we're never going to get to those things in SPC. Another excellent thing that's exploded.
Really well done. Well done.
One other element that you haven't seen, and I've heard a lot of discussion around it, and I said, well, it's time to start to make it visible. This one's photographic controls. These are things that are not into the SPC process. We're saying they're not non-photographic, so we can't count them. But we are doing it. We are actually controlling a lot of other pieces of equipment, processes, with photographic controls. Somebody said, well, what are they? I couldn't tell them what they are. We got the vehicle in the audit, and you can look that within our unit alone, we have 319 parameters and another 67 pieces of equipment that we're actually controlling. That means that we have the warm, fuzzy feeling that the operators know exactly where that piece of equipment is. Okay, it's not non-photographic and it doesn't meet the criteria the management wanted. Okay, but we're still controlling that. This is going to also be posted so that people understand what we've got, and we're going to really spread the word on this thing. It's a lot of activity. You're doing a lot of work, and it's a lot of good work. We're trying to focus it into what really is totally important. That is the progress of the unit, which I think has been excellent, super excellent. Put it in some words. The next part here is that we're going to have each of the, that's the wrong thing, each of the section supervisors be able to share what they see has happened in their sections and show you the charts and the goals. And you will be seeing those really for the first time. We have not posted those. They haven't had very much of an opportunity overnight really to look at it, so bear with them if they seem like they stumble, but I'm sure they'll do an excellent job. We have a volunteer. Start with a B, right?
Is that what the order was?
We still haven't gotten everybody into the theme of things, and I'm gonna try to expedite the process a little bit. Joe, Roe, and Jim Vincent, when you hear something that sounds like it's meaningful progress to you, any one of the three of you, let's hear some applause. Let's hear some raising hell. And when you guys hear Joe or
Wait a minute, I'm
Jim,
talking though.
well, no, but I mean, a lot of things that you say. When you guys hear Joe or Roe or Jim applaud or raise hell, everybody else join in. Go ahead, Doug. Give us a lot to cheer about.
Yay!
Hey, all right.
Let's go. Let's go. MPL, which includes processing downstairs and motion picture and flashing and prep upstairs. I think we've done tremendously. And contrary to what Leanne said, we weren't, between the 5th period and 11th or 7th, 8th period, we were moving, even though they don't show the number game here. But we were moving. We were doing a lot of things, and I still feel that a lot was accomplished. Let's go in here to, right to date. The top one is our photo. It's not too sharp, is it, my glasses?
No, it's probably on top
Right,
there.
right here is focus on it.
Okay. The top one over here is photographic, non-photographic parameters. And of course, we have a lot of non-photographic parameters. All of our analytical is all non-photographic results. We have to control the processes using analytical. And as you can see right now, processing, we're up here to about 18. Flashing and prep, we're up to 6. Total of 19. And our the goal is 15, so we're essentially above our goal. That never was good with a mic. Great. I really don't need one. I can talk loud enough. So we excellent. You know, we're above our goal. We're moving along, and we're implementing a lot more as we go with the SCORE team as our 3 individuals who are on that are looking down in the processing area, are looking at different things that we can start getting involved in even more. I think you'll see this figure even go up. Over here for total, we're up here to 146. That's the total. As you can see, this control is getting bigger. That's great. That's what we...
Absolutely.
Come on. Okay, let's go down here to photographic parameters. Keep in mind that we run a lot of controls, checks, through the processing machines. And in most cases, it's 3 and 4 steps that we'll read that we have to control that process. So keep in mind that each step is a parameter. And as you can see, we're running right up here. We're about 11. I would say, Ron, that this may be more because maybe she did not take each step. Maybe she took the whole control strip as one. That's probably what she did. Where really it's 4 parameters in one control strip. And here, but yet I think it's over in here. This must be because 120 we have. That means that we are right now roughly 120 control strips, and we're checking and we're testing the parameters in each one. And each individual area that we read on that control strip is a parameter. And this is excellent too. I mean, we're up to 120. We got control charts, we got limits, we got aims. And one of the things that you don't see here, it's not here, is we're tightening our aims. Over the past 3 or 4 months, we have got tighter, so some of our processes we're controlling down to 0.5, plus or minus 0.5, which when I came into the group back a year and a half ago, some of them were up plus or minus 20 or 10, give a range of 20. So we really are tightened down in a lot of our limits, which only indicates how good we are doing. And it was all accomplished by essentially the operators becoming more aware. We haven't done anything to the machine to make it better. It's all in the operators and the group leaders and all the people involved. And I can see this coming, even getting better as we start spending some money on sensors and things like that that we need to do to better control our process. Right now, our replenisher rates and all these kind of things are not controlled. They're set. We check them manually, but that's about it. Eventually, in the next 4 or 5 months, as a project request hopefully gets done, we will be checking them with digital readouts and things like that, which is certainly to help us even control better. So there's where MPL stands. We're moving forward. We're getting our limits tighter, and we're satisfying our customer. Isn't that the name of the game?
Absolutely.
Right.
Hey, now we're getting into it. All right.
Go to it, will you?
Talk loud. Here, I got my pants. I'll look down when I talk. That's an excellent idea. It's, this is nice. If you have any problems with this, please comment. This is moving. I'll talk fast because I want to hear from the operators. Pretty much the same thing that Doug has. A couple of things I'd like to mention is, first of all, I'd like to thank my 3 group leaders. We were the first ones to get our sheets in, and that just shows a super job that they did. So I thank Ken, Bill, and Maz. Fine job. We were first done. That's we've pulled our weight. This is nice. I love it. A couple things I'd just like to point out. These are the numbers. I just got them yesterday afternoon. I haven't really had a chance to go over. I echo what Doug said. I think we've made tremendous progress in the area. We've got an awful long way to go. I think the core team is really going to help focus on some of the things we can get to. I think the only thing I'd like to mention is when you'll notice that the sensitometry, densitometry group over in Building 69 has not reached their goals. And a very good reason for this is when we started looking into this and getting a little deeper into SPC and what we needed to control, one of the first things that came out were the fact that those instruments have to be environmentally controlled before you can put any meaningful control charts. We can put charts on to make numbers, but that's not the idea, and we decided that we're not going to put on a bunch of meaningless charts to reach a goal. The first task that we have to do is get that area in some type of environmental control, and that means controlling the temperature plus or minus 1 degree Fahrenheit, controlling the relative humidity plus or minus 5%. That has not yet been done. When it's done, you're going to see this go right off the chart, I feel. Again, I think the ideas that Ron has come up with have really helped us reach our goals. I think we've got some good progress, and again, like Doug said, it's the operators that have made it all happen. Operators and the group leaders that have made this work, and I thank them very much. And I'm done.
There, cut this all out, right? I gotta do this. Get kicks to him.
Is that clear? Okay, this is for film measurements and keeping, and I think we're in a unique... Yeah. All right. Film measurements, keeping.
What do they do?
Anyways, I think we're in a unique situation when it comes to looking at non-photographic parameters, because we've got a lot of equipment that is operator dependent, does not have moving parts, etc. And as you can see on this chart over here, that we're really not anywhere close to our goal. But believe me, we are doing there's a lot of activity around identifying non-photographic parameters that make sense to collect data on, set up control charts, and we're going through that process right now, and if it doesn't make any sense, it's not going to help us, we're not going to do it.
That's right. Absolutely.
Okay, we can look at non-photographic parameters, the equipment or process, and the parameters for each one of the pieces of equipment. I can't tell what the final number is there for the total. I think I'm not sure. I can't read it. Yeah, 19 I think it is. And the various groups, A being physical properties, B is photographic properties, C and D are image structure and electrostatics, and E is keeping. You know, we have a lot of photographic parameters, and we have 25 pieces of equipment that we are monitoring, and we have a total of 47 photographic parameters. And we're very close. We have a lot of equipment that are in SPC based on photographic response. And I think we've done an excellent job, and the people, especially the operators that are involved now with the SPC core group, they're realizing the importance of this, where we have to go, and spreading that word to the people. And I think we're getting good response. And I think that by year end, we're going to see a great improvement over where we are right now. And I'd like to thank everybody in my group for the excellent job that they've done.
Good.
Like passing the baton here in a relay race. Floats. I think that shows that I think the supervisors did a very good job of seeing the information broken down to their goals. That was the first time they've seen it, and they just had probably half hour this morning to make sense of that, and I think they really did a good job of coming in with the understanding. Good job. That was a success story right there. I think this is the key to the whole thing right here now, is the success stories that we've had, examples that will show what this process is all about, and you get that to the operators. The first one I have up there is photographic properties. I think Lauren's going to be making a presentation on that, and come get him, Lauren.
Way to go, Lauren.
Oh,
Lauren's part.
right, yeah.
Lauren's part of the core team, and Lauren's been giving me a lot of grief, but he does a good job, and that's what's important. But they're good
Without the
examples.
grief, there's no glory. Okay. Okay, what I have here concerns the photo abrasion testing, okay? And it's a multi-phase test. And one phase of it is where strips are abraded and processed, and they're read on the microdensitometer upstairs, which when we set this up every day, we do have a control technique of somewhat, but we can make sure the apparatus is running pretty much the same on a daily basis. But the culprit is what about a change while it's running? We really had no handle on whether this thing, the heart of this thing, is a bulb that we trust runs at a certain intensity. And after a while, the filament in this bulb will grow weak, and it can just go at any time. But prior to this, changes take place. And unfortunately, you don't know until after the fact. And it's very frustrating to repeat a day's work, or even 2-3 days' work. So, strips with step densities on are traced on the microdensitometer, and they produce step heights. I don't know if everybody can see this, okay? But these, if the sensitivity of the apparatus is staying the same, these should be reproducible from 1 week to the next. If the bulb intensity changes, these will change. The whole linear scale from one end to the other will change. So we needed a way to keep tabs on this. So the best way was to just take a couple periods of data of these chart heights, average them out into a chart for each respective color, using a color product as a good representative because they're most sensitive. And the operator, when running the microdensitometer, he can look on here along the x-axis is your densities, and your y is your chart heights. And by going over his regular normal chart height over the chart and dropping down to the corresponding density, that should pretty much match what he's seeing at the present time. And if it doesn't, he knows he has a problem. And that's simply how this works. He can check each individual color layer as the micro data is producing these slopes. And he knows right at an instance if he has a problem. He can stop production and just correct the problem, reset up the machine, and start all over. And it gives you that, let's say, a warm, fuzzy feeling.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. That you're not going to be repeating a whole day's or 2 days' work. And that's the heart of the whole thing.
It's been a very valuable tool in the training of a new person that we have in that group.
Right. It's giving her that warm, fuzzy feeling, too.
How much time?
Good job, Lauren.
How much time did it take you?
I'd say a couple hours.
Took you a couple of hours
To accumulate the data, and then all I did was feed it into a software program which produced the charts. And that was it.
One of the things that we're trying to accomplish with these kinds of meetings is to move away from being modest. When something doesn't go well, then people say, well, yeah, I screwed it up. But when things go really well, people are reluctant to say, damn, I did a good job on that. Lauren is being modest in this case. Where did you develop this at, Lauren? Where physically did you develop this tool? Where did you run the data?
Well, no, I did this at home. And it's just one of those things where an idea comes to you. You have a problem that's been facing you and it's nagging you. And how can I get around this? And with these SPC, so strong as it is, and the core meetings, you think more about it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And the things that Ron brings out and stuff like that, it's on your mind more than it has been previous years. Okay? So who knows when these revelations are going to hit you? Not necessarily when you're sitting at your desk. You'd be home drinking a cup of coffee. So fortunately for me, I have the resources at home where I can run up to my little computer room and plug this stuff out. And it's been a great benefit to me.
Well done, Lauren.
Great.
Great.
Thank you.
No, you can't go with the mic. I need the mic. Great. The next area is in flashing and preparation, and that success story takes on a little different flavor. They've been working for many weeks on making their job more exciting to work at, getting rid of the boredom, and improving the turnaround time. Well, is that SPC? Yeah, that's SPC. That's all part of the total quality control package. Those are the things that happen. And I believe Don Engelson's going to share with us on that.
Okay, come on.
Don't work. There you go.
All right, thanks. What we've been looking at